I don't.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Let me have a story here make you feel at home. Ready? Scott County last night, 6 people have been arrested in a drug bust in Scott County. Tuesday morning, the Scott County Sheriff's Office, working with the Forest Police Department, Bureau of Narcotics, the DEA, 8th Circuit Court, arrested 6 people, conspiracy to distribute or possess a controlled substance. All the arrests were made without incident. Damian Dozier, 43, Vincente Parker, 28, Linda Gunn, 52, Demetrius Chesser, 37, Doyle Chapman, 37, and Ricky Smith, 60 years old. How's that make you feel?
Makes me feel good, especially that it was without incident.
That's it, without incident. First of all, are you retired, or what's going on now?
I am retired.
That didn't work out the last few times.
I didn't get to hear. It didn't work out in the last few times. I didn't get to hear some of your program yesterday. Yeah. I heard part of it. I thought I ought to come in and defend. I was not sitting in my underwear on the deck. I was in shorts and a T-shirt.
Hey, Perez, it's our luck. He heard that's the
only thing on the whole show he heard.
Yeah, we had a great show yesterday. That's all he heard.
I did not hear that, but I was told about it. And
oh, is that it?
There was a line of cars driving through the neighborhood. I'm not sure.
And looking to see you in your drawers.
Photos on Instagram, man.
I guess people don't have much to do with lockdown.
What are you doing?
I'm
what you want to?
Pretty much what I want to.
Yeah.
I'm taking guitar lessons.
No kidding. Never too late then.
The dogs in the neighborhood are howling a lot when I practice.
By the way,
yeah,
you don't have much time.
Well, when I'm on Music City Row, you guys will be laughing.
Well,
yes, we will.
Ironically, the 8-year-old is beginning guitar lessons yesterday, and she's so we'll see who progresses the fastest on this one, her or you. So. What's your thought when you see all this, with your background and your knowledge and your experience of what's going on? But one of the things, as far as in your office for so many years, is the proper response of how do you do this? How do you address the possibility of people gathering and getting out of control?
Well, of course, the First Amendment gives us a right for peaceful protest. I think 99% of the law enforcement officers here in this country would march along with some of these people at a valid gathering. This has gone beyond that, and just I won't deny I've sat there watching. I've had to just get away from the media from time to time.
We all do.
I think. If we could shelter in place from the media and get a quarantine from them about 60 days, this country would be a lot better off. And
I don't disagree with you.
A lot less divided, but I won't deny I've sat in the living room with tears in my eyes watching some of this stuff. And, of course, as a professional law enforcement officer, I don't condone, and most other officers would not condone what we saw happen in Minneapolis there. I don't know all the facts, but from the facts I do know, that's unconscionable. I heard the Minnesota president of the Minnesota Chiefs Police Association over the weekend talk about part of the problem with trying to get this guy had a bad record, apparently, bad administrative record, number of complaints. But part of the problem is arbitration, and the administrators will get rid of the bad eggs, and then they're forced to take them back. I dealt with some of that here in Mississippi, as you well know. There are people that don't need to be law enforcement officers.
You did have that story, as a matter of fact, not too long before you left.
I did. And that's just, but I personally don't think this is about, I think a lot of the people out there doing what they're doing right now don't know George Floyd's name and couldn't care less about George Floyd. When you see bricks and pipe bombs and other weapons and stones just mysteriously show up on pallets at these locations all across the United States, when you see the graffiti, that's the same from Los Angeles to New York City. It's well organized and well financed, and I think our Department of Justice needs to do another investigation.
The sound clip to hearken on what you just said, the sound clip that I just played, I didn't realize that, but he just basically said, one of the guys in New York, former police department precinct captain in New York, said that they have people who are specifically in charge of the graffiti to go from place to place, city to city. We've seen cars of Antifa dress-typed white people who are handing out bricks to these kids. We see pallets of bricks placed, unloaded in the middle of the night at several locations where there's no reason for those bricks to be there. Why the hell haven't we stopped this 6 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago for that matter? Why haven't we recognized that these people are a threat to us inside the United States of America? And why did it take just the other day for this president to finally, and I say any president, to finally say this is a terrorist organization?
Well, again, I think this is a whole lot deeper than what we're seeing. This is a power play. You've got a president that you're talking about there who walked across the street there yesterday. It was a symbolic move, of course, and the country is divided more than I've seen it in my entire lifetime. But you read me some facts. Can I read you a couple?
Sure.
There were 10 million arrests, and this is from the FBI Uniform Crime Report. 10 million arrests last year. Out of those 10 million arrests, there were 1,004 fatal police shootings. That's 0.01% of all the arrests. Okay, 41 of those were unarmed people, 4% of the 1,004. 19 were white, 46% were white. 9 were black, 22%. For further context, 89 cops were killed in the line of duty last year. 82 people were shot in Chicago last weekend. 19 are dead. And we're not hearing about that.
No, we're not going to hear about that because it's not politically advantageous to do that. And I hate to wrap up the black abortions the same way in these neighborhoods, what's going on, but nobody talks about that. When you say Black Lives Matter, it only matters if there's political capital attached to it. Now, it's not that I'm saying that to be mean or to be racist or anything else, but in a court of public opinion and also in a real-life situation, that's the truth. That is what's coming out of this. Black Lives Matter when you can make political capital out of it. And most of that is supposed to be the interest gained from Democrats and their party. I have a mulligan that I did earlier, and I gotta correct myself. I said something about 5,000 New York City police, and there's 35,000. I think it's actually 34,000, the new listing. 34,000 uniformed officers and 19,000 civilians who work for this. A small army in New York. Burl Cain, you've met with him before when you were in office?
I did when I was commissioner.
What do you think about the guy?
I think he's forgot more about corrections than most of us will ever know.
That's true.
He ran a good shop down in Angola. Very impressive. I learned some things from Burl that actually wanted to implement some things here, and unfortunately, budget constraints got in the way. Yeah. But I don't envy him. I think it remains to be seen, but I think he'll do about as good as anybody else can.
So from your perspective, it was a good hire?
Yes, sir.
We were talking about this off the air, and you said that you've been there. You've seen some of the aftermaths of some of these shootings, and where it looks like it. If you haven't been there, if you haven't been at ground level to see the aftermath, if it's your city, I think I was listening to watching the video from I forgot who it was. It was in New York, in one of the little Vietnamese stores that's been there, part of the community forever and ever. And these people have struggled and struggled, and that was something they wanted to pass on to their kids. The Asian market that was there, but it was kind of a gathering place. And I forgot who it was, said, we stopped there on the way to the office. We got a cup of coffee. We met people there. It was just a neighborhood. And it was gone. It's totally destroyed. And you see these things in firsthand when you're there and you see what happens to your community on fire. And you understand the police department's number one duty is to protect you. But you've seen it firsthand.
I have. I thought, talking offline there a minute ago, 3 years ago last month, there was a little 6-year-old boy named Kingston Frazier who was murdered here in Madison County. He was kidnapped right down the road here off 55 at the Kroger by some thugs.
This is the one that was shot in Gluckstadt?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I remember that.
And I went to the scene, and in my lifetime I've seen a lot of things, and I hope that my grandchildren never have to see, that most men and women live their lives that don't have to see. That was one that'll stick in my mind forever. It's hard for me to even talk about today, but I did not see the outrage over that we should have seen. There was a child. There was a child murdered recently in
an African-American child.
African-American child murdered by an African-American male.
Yeah.
Senseless killing.
For people who don't remember
car.
that one, and I pass by there almost every day if I take that route, but I go by there and see the street, the dead-end street where they parked and where his life ended. And the story when there, they just hijacked the car. He happened to be in the car and started crying. He was in the back seat in a car seat or a booster seat or something. How old? He was 9 years old?
6
years old. And just to make him shut up. Apparently they shot him.
Yes, sir. And, my colonel, who's still the colonel, Colonel Chris Gillard, and I were at the scene together. And, neither one of us slept for a few days. The Colonel and I both had conversations. We got the same pastor, Chip Henderson, at Pine Lake. I go to Pine Lake Church, and I'm thinking about changing churches since all this. He seems to be preaching only at me when he's online on Sundays. There's other people in the church. I think he can direct. It's like he's reading my mail. So,
well, you don't want to be there in your underwear.
No, sir, I don't.
That's all I can tell you. So when you see when you hear yesterday, and we had Sean on Tyndall, who's the new commissioner, to take your spot. I know it's one of those jobs that you probably will say good luck because it's not an easy job.
I do wish him good luck. I didn't get to hear everything yesterday, but I was wondering why 2 grown men were talking about another man in his underwear. I had a little problem with that. But, so I came here to defend myself. No, Sean sounded very positive and energetic, and he's already. I heard him say, and it was good to hear him say that he's already realized what good people he has around him and the good job that they're doing. And I wish him, I'm telling you, he's going into not only a tough job, but this is a tough time. Our revenue stream is down, so it'll be a true test. And I wish him well. I really do.
Where do you think, when you come back and you look at this, where do you think the biggest problems are going to be?
Well, driver services, of course.
Number one, driver's license and things such as that.
That'll be the number one. And we've still got the issue with the backlog in autopsies, the medical examiner's office. And again, a lot of that, most of it comes down to funding.
That's what I was going to say. Most of that's solved by only money, and now that problem's going to be worse than it's ever been.
And then you've got continual, the attrition rates with the troopers and MBI and MBN. You're losing those people. You got less and less people. There's been evidence lately what we've seen. You got a lot less people who want to be police officers in today's world. And there's a multitude of reasons for that, not the least of which is it's very dangerous.
To be honest with you, I can't even imagine why anybody would want to get into this now. I mean, you got to really be dedicated to do it. And for all of this to happen with one guy who, as you said, had a nefarious record anyway. Did you realize this? And I saw this, and this is an oddity, but Floyd and Chauvin, the officer who put his knee on him, both worked as security guards at the same nightclub. It's not sure if they worked at the same time. There were quite a few of these, or they even knew each other. But the oddity is they both worked at the same place in the past, as far as when they were off duty.
I saw that. Let me say this too. Police, the good police in this country, and most people are good police that are out there wearing the badge. They don't want these bad eggs among them. They don't want them. They want to weed them out. And so I would tell the good people out there that are suspicious of law enforcement, there's some bad ones out there, but there's some bad dentists out there, but for the most part. But I think, Paul, if we could get the politicians out of the way, like New York City is evidence, and I don't want to pick on New York. I got a lot of friends from my DEA days in New York that are retired, live in that area, and they're some of the most wonderful people I've ever known. A lot of paisans. But Thomas Sowell's one of my favorite person. It's hard to imagine a more stupid or more dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price. They pay no price for being wrong.
Man, that is it. That's right there. No consequences.
No, sir.
And if you look at this, the temper tantrum starts from, I know on the social media thread there were a lot of people, and this could go black or white. that some of the problems here are fatherless. We don't have fathers in the house, black or white, or even where there are fathers in there, black or white. Sometimes they don't administer they make sure that there are no consequences for wrong behavior, and it goes all the way up to this. When you have this going on in the streets of America now, and nobody's able to stop it. And I think everybody says, people in your profession, they say you have to stop this immediately. Mayor Giuliani said in an interview yesterday, he said the reason we didn't have this is once we saw that happening, we didn't wait for a day later or 2 days later. If it was 10 or 15 people and if one person in that small crowd of 10 or 15, we stopped it right there. We made the arrest, we took them out, we stopped it. If they were peacefully protesting, fine.
It's got to happen.
You look at the way he ran that city compared to what's going on now, and it's unbelievable. There's a new poll out this morning. The Morning Consult found that a large majority of American voters, including a majority of Democrat voters, back the use of the National Guard to address the riots and the protests tearing the cities apart across the nation. A smaller majority of Americans support using the military, but the poll backs up the president's claim that a silent majority is on the side of cracking down on the unrest. Today that showed 66% favored military favors sending in the troops, with 27 opposed among all voters. Well, that's military. 66% meaning the National Guard. As far as the actual military, it's a little bit less than that, but 66% favor sending in the military in this country, understanding that if the mayors won't do it and they've abdicated their responsibility, it's time to do that. So, final thoughts, sir.
The first duty of government is to protect its citizens.